Translation is the silent killer of fluency. Most learners build a mental bridge between their native language and English. They hear a word, translate it in their head, form a sentence in their mother tongue, then translate it back into English before speaking. This process feels safe, but it's actually sabotaging fluency. Every second spent translating is a second stolen from natural speech. Fluent speakers don't translate frag, they think directly in the target language. Studies on bilingual cognition show that real fluency only begins when the brain stops treating English as a foreign code to decode and starts treating it as a direct tool for thought. This is why someone can study English for 10 years, pass every grammar exam, and still freeze in a real conversation, because their brain is doing double the work, translating instead of thinking. The shocking truth is that translation-based learning doesn't build a new skill. It builds a slower, more exhausting version of your first language. To break this cycle, learners need constant exposure to English used in context through audio, video, and reading, so the brain starts forming direct associations between meaning and English words without the native language acting as a middleman. Until that translation habit is broken, no amount of vocabulary memorization or grammar drilling will produce real, spontaneous fluency. This single mental shift, from translating to thinking, is often the biggest turning point in anyone's English journey. Grammar-first learning builds knowledge, not speakers. Classrooms around the world are obsessed with grammar rules, verb tenses, conditionals, passive voice, taught before students ever have a real conversation. This produces people who can explain the third conditional perfectly but can't order coffee without panicking. Grammar-first learning trains the analytical brain, not the communicative brain. Real language acquisition, according to linguists like Stephen Krashen, happens through comprehensible input, understanding messages in context, not through memorizing rules. Babies don't learn grammar before they speak. They absorb patterns through thousands of hours of listening first. Adult learners are taught backwards: rules before exposure, theory before practice. This is why so many advanced English students can score high on written tests, yet feel embarrassed and slow when speaking to a native speaker. The shocking part is that grammar obsession can actually increase anxiety. Learners become so afraid of making a mistake that they stop speaking altogether, which halts progress completely. The fix isn't abandoning grammar, but reordering priorities. Absorb the language through real content first, let patterns become intuitive through repetition, and treat grammar as a tool for refinement, not the gatekeeper you must master before you're allowed to speak. Language is a skill, not a subject, and skills are built through repeated action, not memorized theory. Passive watching feels like progress, but isn't. Millions of learners binge-watch English YouTube videos, movies, and TikToks, believing they're improving simply by listening. But passive exposure without active engagement creates an illusion of progress. Your brain can recognize words without being able to produce them. Recognition and production are two completely different skills. This is why someone can understand 90% of a Netflix show, yet struggle to form a single coherent sentence when asked a question. The shocking reality is that comfort is the enemy of growth. Watching content without pausing, repeating, or speaking back keeps you in your passive comfort zone forever. True improvement requires active recall, pausing a video and trying to explain the scene yourself, shadowing native speakers by repeating their exact rhythm and intonation, or narrating your day out loud in English. Passive input builds a foundation, but only active output turns that foundation into real communication skill. Many learners spend years watching English and wonder why they still can't speak. The answer is that watching trains the ears, not the mouth. The brain needs to physically practice producing sounds, structuring sentences under pressure, and retrieving words quickly, and none of that happens by sitting silently in front of a screen. Passive learning is a starting point, never a destination. Fear of mistakes keeps people silent for years. One of the most damaging habits English learners develop is perfectionism, the belief that they must speak correctly before they speak at all. This fear keeps millions of capable learners silent for years, terrified of grammar errors or a wrong accent. But every fluent speaker on earth, including native speakers, makes mistakes constantly. The shocking truth is that mistakes are not the obstacle to fluency. They are the mechanism of fluency. Every error, if corrected and repeated, strengthens the neural pathway for the correct form. Avoiding speech to avoid errors actually slows the brain's natural error correction process to a crawl. Perfectionism often stems from a school system that punished mistakes with red ink and low grades, teaching learners that error equals failure. But language acquisition research shows the opposite. Learners who speak early and often, despite imperfections, reach conversational fluency far faster than those who wait until they feel ready. Waiting for readiness is a trap because confidence is built through speaking, not before it. The learners who progress fastest are the ones who embarrass themselves in conversations, get corrected, and try again the next day. Silence protects the ego, but starves the skill. Real fluency belongs to those brave enough to sound imperfect long before they sound fluent. Memorizing word lists. Instead of learning language in chunks, flashcard apps and vocabulary lists give learners a comforting sense of productivity. Hundreds of words memorized, streaks maintained, progress bars filling up. But isolated vocabulary rarely transfers into real speech. The brain doesn't store language as individual words. It stores it as chunks, common phrases, collocations, and expressions used together naturally, like make a decision, instead of just make and decision separately. The shocking reality is that many advanced learners have memorized thousands of words, yet still sound unnatural, because they're stringing individual vocabulary together like puzzle pieces instead of using ready-made phrases the way native speakers actually do. This is why direct word-for-word translation from a native language often produces grammatically strange or awkward English, even when every individual word is technically correct. Effective learners shift their focus from single words to phrases and expressions in context, learning "I couldn't care less" as a full unit rather than translating it piece by piece. This chunk-based approach mirrors how children naturally acquire language and dramatically speeds up natural-sounding speech. Vocabulary lists aren't useless, but without context and repeated exposure in real sentences, they remain disconnected data, facts stored in memory, not tools ready for use. Real fluency comes from absorbing language the way it's actually spoken, not the way it's alphabetized in a textbook. Inconsistent, occasional study instead of daily immersion. Many learners treat English like a school subject, something studied for an hour twice a week, then forgotten until the next lesson. But language isn't built through occasional bursts of effort. It's built through daily immersive contact. The brain needs consistent exposure to retain and strengthen new neural pathways, and long gaps between study sessions cause forgetting almost as fast as learning occurs. The shocking truth is that 30 minutes of English every single day will outperform a 3-hour cram session once a week, because consistency triggers long-term memory consolidation in a way that occasional intensity never can. This is why learners who surround themselves with English, changing their phone language, listening to podcasts during